Hey, everybody. It's Jason. I know you've heard my voice many times in the podcast, and I'm here to tell you about something very interesting coming up. I want to let you know about an incredible opportunity for you to get free tips and strategies to build and monetize your personal brand. My good friend Rory Vaden is a New York Times bestselling author and Hall of Fame speaker, and he and his wife founded a company called Brand Builders Group. And they have put together a huge online summit where they're interviewing some of the most influential personal brands in the world on their never before shared secrets of how they became who they are today. So who's speaking at the summit? We've got Lewis Howes, got Michael Hyatt, Dennis Rodman, Kevin Harrington, Jay Baer, Donald Miller, and more. This is a rare opportunity for you to hear the stories about how they became New York Times bestselling authors, how they built high-paid keynote speaking careers, how they have grown massive online followings, and exactly what they have done to create large, multi-seven-figure businesses. If you're someone who is looking to create any type of influence, you have to check this out. It's totally free, and you're going to be learning from the masters who've actually done this. So I want you to encourage you to head over to the show notes today. And in the show notes, I'm going to put a link to this summit. Again, completely free. Take a look at it. I feel super confident you will find it valuable. And now, enjoy the episode. My guest today on the show is Christina Vitagliano. Christina is the founder of Monster Mini Golf. Monster Mini Golf is a group of miniature golf courses located throughout North America that are monster themed. Welcome, Christina.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing so well. So good to have you on today.
Thank you.
You are definitely the first person I've talked to who is the founder of a miniature golf course. I don't think that is something that many people in the world can say that they have done.
No.
I've talked to a lot of authors. I've talked to a lot of coaches and speakers and consultants and all sorts of things. You are definitely a first for me here. I am delighted. And I will share with you off the top that I am a miniature golf course. I'm a mini golf fan.
Oh, nice.
And I have a 5-year-old, and I took her to her first, we went miniature golfing this summer for the first time, and she loved it. And
Awesome.
So it was really fun. So I'm super excited to have you on, super excited to hear about your journey as a business founder, specifically let's be clear, miniature golf it's just a fun space.
Yeah.
Nobody goes to miniature golf if they're feeling bad. It's it's a tourism thing. It's a thing you do with kids.
Sure.
It's a thing. It's actually a thing that I did at my bachelor party because I had a bunch of we were a very competitive group of people and very competitive group of guys. I'm like, we're going to go miniature golfing. And I will be honest. We wagered some money on it.
I will say that we're a family entertainment center, so we get little kids and we get adults, but the adults, those are some serious mini golfers, and they are usually wagering on all kinds of things.
Yeah, we don't. None of my friends and I, for my bachelor party, none of us wanted to lose. So we got a lot to talk about today. So I am ready to get right into it. If you are, Christina.
Sure.
All right. So first things first. What's something that you nerd out about?
Oh boy, I nerd out about. I say outsider art. I like, and look at my background. I mean, it's kind of, it kind of tells you what we do, but I love it. I collect it. I follow it. It inspires me. Keeps me creative.
What do you mean by outsider art? What does that mean?
Well, all right. So I'm not my house is full of art, and everybody that comes in here always walks in and says, what is going on in this house? So I'm not going to have a Picasso on the wall, but I might have, a two-headed giraffe that somebody did that to me, it inspires me and keeps me creative. But outsider art is its own world of interesting artists.
Oh, so outsider art is a genre of art.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I have a lot of very weird things.
So how do you how is the genre defined? Like, how would I know I'm looking at outsider art versus something that's more that would not fit into that category?
If you're looking at something that somebody made and you say, why did somebody do this? That's probably outsider art.
That's amazing. Well, what's so fun? What's so funny about this is I'm thinking, don't you think that people, when Salvador Dali painted or Jackson Pollock, don't you think people said, why are you doing this?
Absolutely. And I would say, gosh, back then, and that hits in, surrealism and the beautiful.
Oh, amazing.
Art.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think, and the only reason why I think it's called outsider art, or these are the artists that you don't see them in an art gallery. But as soon as they get to an art gallery, they're no longer outsider artists. They're considered an artist, so it's that,
this is, I mean, isn't this the way it goes for like artists overall, musicians, people who do art, and it's like, you're nothing and you're considered an outcast until suddenly you're not. I'm thinking of the author who wrote Hunter S. Thompson, who wrote Fear and Loathing. Like, oh, this dude's so weird, until suddenly he's famous. And like, then it's like a piece of American literature. So I think that's and I hope I'm not sounding dumb. I believe he's American. But yeah, that's so interesting. We definitely don't have any outsider art in our house, for sure. I'm trying to think. We have, like, my wife does some art, and it's definitely not outsider. It's more it's like abstract watercolor and things, but you're not going to walk in and be like, that is very outside of the norm. So I don't think we would qualify. That's so interesting. I've never even heard that term before. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. For all of us listening and here with you, the background that you have, that I'll describe it, is kind of an angry looking orange bear with a vest and jeans on, and a big troll, who's coming out of a cave, and then some other, a little bit spooky. So it's not a spooky motif. Is this outsider art, or is this representative of Monster Golf, or is it a both?
This is actually the background of Yonkers, New York. So if you were playing mini golf in Yonkers, New York, you would see these props, and that big troll behind me stands up and he talks and he farts and he, tells funny jokes and things like that.
What trolls do. Of course he does.
Of course.
Yeah,
why, especially if he's on a mini golf course, because he has to.
Yeah.
So that's our world. All of our monster mini golfs are designed for the location that they sit in. So they're all a little bit different. It keeps
Very cool.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that's cool. All right. So Christina, we're going to talk a little bit about your comfort zone. And what we mean by this is just the thing that's easy for you, the thing that you have you're like, hey, I'll do that. No problem. Piece of cake for you. What's something that's easy for you and inside of your comfort zone that might be outside of somebody else's?
Wow. I would say two things. One, if I'm working, I'm in my comfort zone. That's like my safe space. And I've had since I was young. Yeah. So that becomes my safe space. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I have a job, I'm in a comfort zone. And whatever reason, I like public speaking. I like doing this.
Yeah.
I like talking about, that's things like that. And I like being surrounded by art. Really, I guess that's,
And it sounds like some interesting art that most of us don't have.
Yeah, definitely. Am I allowed to say bad words? Weird ass art.
Absolutely.
I like weird ass.
Oh, ass. If you're going to say ass, that would be the least bad word I've heard on my show today. I've done 3
good. So I'm comfortable here.
Yes. Oh, we're very comfortable. There's, this is an explicit podcast on Apple. So you bring your truth. Yay. Yeah, exactly. We're going to cuss the rest of the episode. Let's take a look at the reverse of that for you. So what's something that is outside of your comfort zone that's going to be inside of somebody else's?
Wow. I don't like being the center of attention. Weird. Unless I'm talking about my job or you're interviewing me like this, I'm fine with that. I always, the best way to explain, I think, and especially my husband and myself are very different. If somebody was putting a movie together or doing a production, I would be behind the scenes and I want to create it. I want to do everything that takes it that will make it look big, but I don't want to be that person sitting on that stage. That's not who I am. Nope. But public speaking, a different story, because I'm talking about the creation of something. Usually. Yeah,
that's such a yeah. It's such a interesting juxtaposition that I like to public speak, because, and I say this, Christina, I have a lot of speakers on the show. A lot of speakers, part of the reason they speak is because they like being the center of attention. Yeah, like they like to deliver their message. They like the eyeballs on them. I'll put myself in that category. I'm somebody who, it's not why I like to do what I do, but I have no problem that somebody wants to I like to have people hear me and see me. It's part of why I do this podcast. So it's so interesting that you like to public speak. You like to talk about what you do, but you don't want to be the center of attention. Yeah. So so for you, it's more like the inspiration is in the content and sharing, not so much in being in front of people.
Yep, absolutely. If somebody says, "Hey, talk about your work," then that's fine, because I'm expressing and I'm delivering information about something else. harder time talking about myself, which and that's one of my, hey, I got to get over that because I think we talked earlier, I just published a book and it was a memoir. So there you go. There's my own, get over that hurdle.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect because I'm going to ask you some personal questions on this podcast today.
Yeah,
so we're gonna help Christina get outside her comfort zone a little bit, which is in front of a bunch of people, which is perfect. So you mentioned public speaking, and my next question for you is inside of a scenario that sounds like might not. I don't know if this is ideal for you or not. If I had the power to give you a stage for 5 minutes and everybody gets to hear your speech. So let's say the entire world, and you get to speak to us.
Yes.
What is it that you would speak about? And what is your call to action for us? Like, what would you want us to do when we were done listening to your 5-minute speach?
Can I be really, really honest?
You cannot. Yes. I only want your honesty.
I would, and this is what one of my goals in life. I want to, it's hard to say. I want to make people more aware of the intensity of child abuse and why we cover it up. I want it to stop being covered up. I want it to get out in the open, and I want to teach people that they have to speak about it. It's with all the things that are going on in this world today, and especially this generation, these millennials are so outspoken, and they're canceling all kinds of things and correcting history and things like that. But nobody talks about that. Not one person is out there because for whatever reason, we've all been conditioned to know that it exists, but nobody wants to stand up and say, hey, let's do something about this. So that's really raw, really serious, but that is what I would like to do. And I have no problem.
Can I, Christina, can I probe a little bit here?
Absolutely.
Is this something from personal experience for you? Is this always been a passion of yours? Is this something like, I'm not asking for your history, but it seems like you have a really personal connection to this topic.
I do. Yes, it's a passion now. Has it been always? No, because I hid it for so long. So at Monster Mini Golf, if you don't mind me going into kind of a quick version of why.
Please, you're the reason that people are here with us today.
So I created Monster Mini Golf about almost 20 years ago because I had just finished writing my memoir. And I sat down for 6 months and I wrote a memoir. And 20 something years ago, self-publishing wasn't as easy as it is now. You pretty much had to go through traditional publishing.
Right. Well, because there was no real electronic books yet. So
there was nothing like that.
You had to go to a printer. And
It was a long time ago in technology.
Yeah.
So when I got done writing, no matter even now, if you get done writing, you should always have your book or whatever you're doing professionally edited. I didn't have any money. I'm not from money. So when I got done and I said, okay, well, I want to have this published, and somebody said, well, that's great. You need to have it edited first. And I said, okay. And then I learned it costs about $5,000. I was like, holy cow, that's a lot of money. I didn't have that. So I had left my career because I was a workaholic, and I had met my husband, and I said, okay, I'm not going to be a workaholic anymore. I'm going to try to do normal life. And so I wrote the book for a while, and then I said, okay, well, how do I come up with $5,000? I said, well, my background is, retail management, business management, nightclub and bar management. What if I take what I know and try and create something? So that's how Monster Mini Golf was created. I had this small space in Northeast Connecticut. That's where we started. My husband had an audio production company, and we rented this old mill space. So in that mill space was a lot of extra space. So I figured, well, what if I put something indoors, and it's something that I could start with no money? So Monster Mini Golf started with $0. I brought it indoors because I needed to work more than 90 days, a year.
Right. In Northeast. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why it was inside. So I was like, okay, if I bring it inside, I can do something year round. But I don't have any money to build this. So what do I do? So it's black lights and glow in the dark, because if I spray everything black, I learned in the nightclub business that if you spray everything black and you just color what you want, that's what shows up, and you can hide all the imperfections. So that's how the black light thing came to be. Wow. And then the monster thing came to be because the mill was ancient, probably should have been condemned, and it looked like monsters belonged there. But monsters were also the only thing that I could actually make myself. I love art, but I'm not an artist, and I'm not a sculptor or anything like that. So I just found objects and made things for about 6 months and built this weird little golf course because I wanted to raise $5,000 to edit my book. So today we have 30 Monster Mini Golf locations. All of them but 2 are franchised. We're about 20 years old. And I didn't publish my book until this May when COVID hit.
Yeah. Wow. That's an amazing story. Yeah. It's an amazing story. Did you, because they were inside, did you have most of your locations have to shut down during COVID?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All of them?
Shut down. Yes. Yeah. Everything shut down for a while. And now, we've been very fortunate through this. And, I think that the main reason, it was a couple of reasons. One, we are almost 20 years old. We did franchise it early on. So most of our locations are owned by franchisees. But when you franchise a business, most of the time, a bunch of people get together and they start this business, and there's, a bunch of investors. And then there's this mark, these, you have to hit this sales mark and this and this and this. So the goal usually in franchising is more locations, more locations, more locations.
Sure. Yeah.
And a lot of times that works great for the first 3 or 4 years. And then it starts to implode, because if you don't have the infrastructure or the actual franchisor experience, you spend a lot of time fixing all of that. And that's just kind of how it works. But Pat and I, when we started it, we were only 2 people. We didn't need to make all those, you didn't have to hit this goal and this goal. And when I went to what a quote unquote franchisor school, they teach you sell, 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 sell. And then the next day in class, it was how to fix all the people and all the things that you shouldn't have sold to, all these people, and how to fix those locations. And I thought to myself, why the hell do I want to do that? I don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with that. So we chose to grow slowly and organically over the years. So we have 30 locations and going up on almost 20 years. And that's small for a franchise.
Yeah.
But when COVID hit, we were a very fine-tuned, tight franchise.
That's because great.
Even though we didn't grow and make all those mistakes that they told us about, it doesn't matter. When you're a franchisor, whatever background you come from, you've never been a franchisor. So those first 3 to 5 to 6 years, you make a ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of choices on how to run your business. And I remember sitting there, I think it was like year 7, and I said, holy cow, this is brutal. We need to just stop, fine tune, reorganize, and get our heads together and make sure that this is all making enough money for everybody. So we had spent the last whatever years doing that. And when COVID hit, we were in a good spot. We were close with our franchisees. We stayed in communication with them. And we came out of this year better than when we went into it. Our company, and I swear, I always want to knock on something, and we're very fortunate. Our last quarter, as of this year, we were up like 39%. This is in 2021, and it's due to us working together as a team.
Yeah, that's awesome, Christina.
Yeah,
that's right. Congratulations to you and also all the franchisees out there who may be listening to this. They'll probably see on the podcast go, we need to see what Christina's saying about us out in public.
They're amazing. They really are.
That's awesome. Well, they run miniature golf courses, indoor miniature golf courses. So I would imagine they have some fun. With it. Yeah, that's awesome. We're going to take a really brief commercial break, and we'll be right back after this.
The Talking to Cool People podcast is brought to you by Jason Frizzell Coaching. Jason works with amazing people who are looking to find and develop their passion and purpose and create their journey to wherever it is they want to go. Check us out at jasonfrizzell.com, Facebook, or on Instagram. Jason loves hearing from anyone who thinks it would be cool to connect, to be coached, or to be a guest on our show. Email him at podcast@jasonfrizzell.com or DM him on Facebook and Instagram. And now, back to some more amazing conversation on Talking to Cool People.
All right, Christina, we are back. Well, thanks for sharing everything you shared so far. I'm captivated by this business model and just super interested to hear more. And so this is the part of the show where I give you a nice big old open-ended question that some people love and some people hate.
All right.
So what is it that you want us all to know about you?
Huh.
Right, exactly. You're like, oh, wow, that's very open-ended.
I would say I am a brutally honest person, and I think there's a lot of good and bad in that. So if you ask me something, I am going to tell you exactly how I feel. And that's not always right. And maybe I shouldn't always do that. But man, I've learned over the years that if you don't, it ends up kind of biting you in the ass in the long run. So, and in business, that's not an easy way to be, because sometimes it holds you back too.
Yeah. Do you find in your relationship with your franchisees that's a positive or a negative, or does it really depend on the personality of the person you're communicating with?
Yes, to all of those things.
All right. So let's be crystal clear. It's definitely positive. That's a very bad close-ended question, because the answer is obviously very likely the answer is going to be yes to all of those. Yeah.
Yeah. All of the above, because it depends on the personality too. So, franchising is great because it helps your company grow and you have owners vested in all of your locations. Franchising also sucks out loud because you are married to those personalities for a very long time, whether you get along or not. And that's honesty. So you have to you can ask 20 people the same question or deal with the same problem, and you're going to have 20 different answers unless you deliver it 20 different ways. And that's the learning curve.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never been involved in a franchisor or I'm not a franchisee. I'm curious if we could spend just a couple minutes on the process of saying yes or no to somebody who wants to start, specifically somebody in Monster Golf. So I'm not really referring to like, do you meet the capital requirements? Do you meet that? It's more of do you also interview for personality fit and look for, so you're looking for like, not just, hey, they have the money, hey, they have some business know-how, or maybe they don't need the business know-how. You're also taking a hard look at, do I think this is the right fit to run this type of business? Do they have a heart for it? Do they so you look for so what are some of the things you look for? If I was to say, hey, I know this amazing woman, she runs a company, I think you could be a good fit. What are you talking to them about as they're entering the process to see if they would be a good fit for the business?
First thing is, what have they done as their background career? So where have you worked that I might be able to compare? In my head, you can handle a family entertainment center, because a lot of folks, and this is from us making mistakes early on.
Yeah, you learn a lot.
Mom and dad would come to us. We call mom and pop would come to us, and they're like, this is wonderful. This is fun. Well, we want our family to own this business. The mom hasn't worked in 10 years. The kids are big now. They want to go back to school. In most cases, if the dad or the wife or the husband, whoever was staying home, wasn't going to be involved in that business, and somebody who hasn't had 8,000 things going on at all times, and it has to run a P&L in the background, and that you're open for a bunch of hours a week. If they haven't handled a similar situation, they will crash. They will not be able to handle our business. We're a big business. We're fun, but it's still you're handling a multi-million-dollar business, and you're responsible for all of that. Yeah. So what we've learned over the years is the people that have had backgrounds that were in careers or jobs that were stressful, that have dealt with a lot of people, that the job was just full of crap. We have a lot of people that came from the mortgage business, a lot of financial backgrounds, New York, that kind of stuff, stocks, a lot of stockbrokers. We have debt collectors, a lot of people from the medical backgrounds where it's just chaos all the time.
Yeah.
This is wonderful compared to that. They can do this with their eyes closed. They can manage a business. So,
I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. It's also it's a volume business, right? Because you're talking $8, $9, $10 a pop. So you need to generate a lot of those $8 or $9, $10, whatever the cost is. And then you've got the ancillary revenue. I'm guessing you got some food stuff in there. You got some parties, video game machines, but we're not talking about big ticket items at the end of the day. So we're talking about, you got to do high volume. Which means you got to do a lot of marketing and probably like bootstrap marketing, like go to your chamber of commerce, go to your networking meetings, share what you're up to. Like most of these locations are inside of malls of some type, would be my guess. Like inside a
strip malls
mall.
and things like that.
Yeah.
So yes, you do have to do your share of marketing, although there is value in a franchise that has been around for a long time, who has developed their own brand, is because we're also responsible for marketing for our people too.
Of course.
So that is one of the upsides. So it depends on, what is your franchisor doing for you? But it's team effort, but you're right. You have to know your brand and yeah.
But so if anybody out there listening who is interested in your business specifically, this is what you speak on. And I don't know if you're generating new ownership, and this is more of a hypothetical. What's the one piece, if you could give people one piece of advice to wanting to get any sort of franchise, but more specifically into something like what you're doing, what's the one piece of advice, or what's the one thing you hear when you're interviewing? Potentially you're like, no. Like if they're like, I wanted, like, what is it, like a get rich quick? To me, it would be like a get rich quick type of thing.
It is. What the first thing they say is, what do these stores make?
That's the thing where you're like,
I don't want, it doesn't, we're successful, but if that's what you're going into it, then you won't understand, you'll never understand our brand and why we make. There's a lot of reasons why people keep coming back to see us.
Yeah.
That's a biggie. Or, I just want to buy this for my kid. That's scary too. Don't do that.
Yeah. Well, because there's also the idea that it's just talking out louder, you're servicing families.
Yeah.
So there's safety issues. There's children, right? So you got the majority of not the majority of the customers, but 50% of the people in it at any given time are going to be children. Yeah. That's a lot of responsibility. Safety. Are there creepsters coming around? Is the place set up for all those things? And if just like, so they want to like buy it as like a hobby business for their kid. I'm like, it's a serious business at the end of the day. And there's also golf clubs that people can get hit with.
Right.
My daughter almost hit herself with a golf club.
Yeah.
A lot of things
going on.
And
then at nighttime, most of the little kids will go away, and then folks like us come in. So you have to be able to understand that you're marketing to little kids and you're marketing to their grandparents. Because everybody enjoys mini golf. It's an inexpensive ticket. Yeah. And like you said, you guys were in there wagering, so
we were wagering, and we may or may not have had a few drinks in the parking lot ahead of time. So that's, I can neither confirm or I will just say it was a bachelor party. I'll leave it at that.
Right. Yeah. We have 2 locations in Las Vegas, so we understand that. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been to Topgolf in Las Vegas, and that is a much more, for those who know Topgolf, that's like a real golf driving range, but people are hammered in there.
Oh, they are very much so.
Yeah, when we were there, somebody fell into the net.
Yeah, we're not Topgolf.
No. I'm like, well, because it's right there in the strip, right? You're like, hey, I went to the bar. It's 9 p.m. I'm not ready to go to the club yet. Let me go hit some golf balls with my buddies when we've been drinking since 3 p.m. or noon or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Very interesting, Christina. Thank you for sharing all those things. So now, this part of the show, I'd like to flip the script a little bit and actually give you the hosting rights and have you ask me something. And we don't know anything about each other other than we're here in a podcast and we've never met each other. So like, based on what we've talked about so far, what would you like to ask me that I can answer for you and for everybody listening?
Well, I guess the obvious question, what made you start a podcast of this nature?
Yes.
And what's your background?
Yes. Okay. So I will start with my background. My background is I spent almost 20 years in corporate. I worked at a couple of large telecoms, and then I decided the big company life wasn't for me. And then I went to work at some startups, and then I decided that any sort of company life wasn't for me if I wasn't working for myself. As an odd fellow entrepreneur, you probably appreciate that.
I totally do.
I realized, and I have no regrets about my corporate career. I really enjoyed the people I worked with. I made really good money. I was in sales. I love technology. I still do all that. I just ran into the entrepreneurial bug a few years ago. And most entrepreneurs that I have in the show, like, this is their story, is they did something for somebody else and hey, I think I could do something for myself. So my background now is I do executive and leadership coaching for, really my sweet spot are people who work in tech, teams and people in technology. So that might be a small startup. That might be like a co-founder or a founder. That might be somebody who works at a larger place like Facebook or Google, like that wants that. I understand that space. I come from the space. So that's kind of the work I do. And with that being said, I also do work with entrepreneurs that have nothing to do with technology, because, and I think I would have guessed you'll agree with this. Business is business is business.
Yeah,
All businesses have problems. Whether you're coding software or running a monster golf course, like there's mini golf course. There's going to be similar challenges because you still got people working for you that are going to annoy you, and you still have got like you said, the P&L. You've got the marketing. So I do have some of my clients that have nothing to do with technology. They're just small business owners. So I do some work there as well. So that's my background. The reason I started this podcast is because as a kid, I wanted to be Johnny Carson. And then I think it was 93, maybe it was 91 when Johnny left. And I think it was actually 91. And then Jay Leno took over. And I've always like really loved people, and I'm really curious about people and what makes them tick and all those things. And I just thought it would be fun to have a talk show growing up. And I never actually have a journalism degree, but I never did anything around broadcast journalism. And then when I started working for myself, I realized that I wanted a creative outlet. And I hit the, I'm like, wait, I don't have a boss. I can do whatever the F I want.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a podcast. What do I want it to be? I'm like, I don't know. I kind of want it to be an interview show where I just talk to people that are interesting about what they're up to. So this podcast is modeled after two podcasts, Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert. If you listen to Dax Shepard, I'm a big fan of that show. His format is super open, just has people on from all walks of life. They talk about all sorts of things. And WTF with Mark Maron, who I don't know if you know who Mark Maron is.
Oh yeah.
So same thing, right? He has all sorts of people on. I think he's done over 1,000 episodes, and he just has conversations with people. So I'm like, hey, like I can do that. So that's what the show's become. Is I have people come on. We talk business, we talk personal. Just to give you for you and everybody listening, the kind of variety I get on here. Today, I've done you're my fourth episode, as I shared with you. My first episode is a friend of mine who's back on the show for the second time, retired Master Chief Navy SEAL.
Wow. Performance
and leadership, right? So we talk a lot about the military stuff. Mm-hmm. My second guest is an author and a life coach whose her book is coming out, and her episode's going to be releasing next week. Amazing person. I just met her today. His name is Karen Freeland. She has a book, and it's titled "The Ins and Outs of My Vagina: Penetrating Memoir." So awesome. Her thing is all about. So it's all about her, and not just about her sex life. It's about her experience as a woman. She's an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. She was a longtime corporate person who burned out. So she talks a lot about women, about femininity, that. And then my guest before you is a friend of mine who is a coach for really, she's a former attorney who also ran into like, I hate what I do. Yeah. And so now she coaches attorneys and executives and leaders everywhere. And now I'm talking to you, founder of a super cool, like Monster Mini Golf. So I get to, it's just a really fun thing for me to get to talk to all sorts of different people and get interested about what they do, what makes them tick, and what they do in the world. And also I get to make an impact because I get to support the business. People are going to listen and go, right. Oh, you know what? Like, let me see if I have one of these in my area. Oh, I do have one of these in my area. Let's go check it out. It sounds super cool. Let's bring the kids, or let's not bring the kids. Let's have a few drinks at the bar and then go over there. So yeah, thank you for the question. It was kind of, I think podcasting is a really low stakes way to get to have your own talk show. It's like, it's me with my producer, and that's why I do it. And I'm coming up on episode 100. So it's a long time, consistent thing. A lot of fun. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's just fun. I like it. So if I have a saying in my life, if it ain't fun, I ain't doing it.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Me too.
And yes, I do a lot of unfun things like doing my taxes or paying somebody to do my taxes. Not fun. There's a lot of fun things I don't do, but the things that I get to choose to do that don't feel like responsibilities, I'm really only going to choose things that I find enjoyable most of the time.
Excellent.
Awesome, Christina. So back to you. What is it that you're most passionate about, or what are you passionate about?
Right now, it's again, I think we talked about this earlier. My memoir finally got released. I released it in May. So that is obviously I'm passionate about my career, my work, but my memoir that's my, hey, if I have a bucket list thing that I want to accomplish, is to hopefully share that with other people out there that are in similar situations that say, there's no way I'm getting out of this alive. So it's when you talk about the subject of child abuse, or people write about it, usually it's about those instances or whatever actually happened to them or how they were abused. And obviously that's a huge issue and it should stop. But my memoir covers 30 years. It starts in the late 60s and then it ends when I'm in my early 30s, because it's not just that you had something happen to you, it's the effects of everything in your life because of that, and how you deal with it, and and people say, how do you survive it? Which I think is bullshit, because I don't think anybody survives it ever. I think it's more of how do you overcome the balance of making that less about your life and everything else more about your life, and taking that and saying, fuck that. I'm going to actually use it to my advantage and what I've learned.
Yeah.
So that's, if anybody reads, if you read, it's called Every 9 Minutes. And the reason I titled it Every 9 Minutes is because literally every 9 minutes in the United States, there's a case of reported child abuse. And that's reported.
Reported. Yeah. And
reported. So if you say that to anybody who's sitting out there, I would say the majority of us don't report it.
Yeah.
A lot of family stuff, a lot of weird stuff. So, you want to be able to say, look, if you're sitting out there and you're going through some crap in your life, there are other people that have done it. You're not alone. You can come out of it so that it doesn't consume you. And that's pretty much, that's the balance. Don't let it consume you.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, this is not something I can personally identify with. I grew up in my great parents, that was not a thing in my household. So I can't personally identify. I am not I'm not a victim. Yeah, right. I'm not a victim of child abuse. And what I want to say is my guess is that it comes with likely similar to any sort of abuse, spousal abuse, emotional abuse.
Sure.
My guess is that it comes with a lot of shame.
Yeah.
And especially as a kid, you're really imprinting on a kid that they're not good enough or something. Like you're worthy of being physically harmed. And you're talking specifically about physical child abuse, or physical.
Physical, but I mean, gosh, mental too, I would assume. But my experience was physical. So that's what I can write, or talk about first. Because as a child, well, one, you're innocent and you don't know anything. Yeah. But if it starts very young, really all a child wants to do is make their parents happy.
That's right.
Just the way it is.
Yeah. And that, I guess the message is, not only are you not making me happy, but I'm going to, you're not worthy. You're worthy of actually having physical pain because you don't make me happy. Yeah.
Well, they don't care enough about you to care enough about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Before we wrap today, we're going to go back and talk about where the book can be found and all that. We'll talk about the book and all that. I want to ask you, and I think this is a great next question, is that ask you, Christina, about the thing that you are most proud of. So what is that? What comes up for you? And I ask you what you're most proud of.
I would say now, there's two things. One, I'm proud that our business can stand on its own 2 feet. We're debt free. And I'm proud that, it's not that I'm proud of me. I'm proud when I look out there and our franchisees, because we are small, you're proud of them because they're the ones that made us who we are right now. It's a team. You're proud of the team. I know that sounds like such a cliche kind of thing, but, and that happened this year, going through COVID and realizing, holy crap. I think most people who went into that, who own businesses that closed, I don't think, we didn't know if we were going to survive.
Yeah.
We were done. But to come out of it and to come out of it more successful, that's something to be proud of.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. What sort of support did you all give to each other when COVID hit and locations had to shut down? As the founder, were you helping to support, renegotiating leases? Were you what kind of thing? So you were on the ground with people, boots on the ground, helping, here's what we recommend. Here's how you do it.
Zoom on the ground, but
Zoom on the ground. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you were fully available to a franchisee who's like, hey, Christina, I need to talk to you about what's next for my business. You're advising them the whole way through and coaching them. Yeah.
Our corporate crew worked the entire time. So our corporate crew stayed on payroll and us, and we kept working. Now, if you're a franchise or your income is based on royalties paid by the franchisee, that we get paid weekly.
Sure.
But they weren't open for a very long time.
Right. Yeah.
So from pretty much March of last year till middle of June, when we started to open one, and it was at like 20% capacity, we were making zero income.
Sure.
But our team, and that's just myself, my husband, and our corporate team did not stop working. And then Pat and I had to suck it up and pay everybody.
Sure.
But that's why we're here right now.
Yeah. And now you're seeing a light.
Yeah. A lot of Zoom calls, a lot of alcohol involved Zoom calls.
You're like, we got a tough conversation. Let's grab a glass of wine or a shot of tequila.
Yeah.
Let's
do this Zoom call around 7:30 at night when everybody's all the kids are in bed.
Exactly. I'm going to assert that many of your locations, your franchisees, the payroll protection stuff, probably they have qualified for that because you're employing like high school kids and, people that work in like family entertainment centers. You're helping them generate that or apply for those types of things as well. Very cool.
A lot of paperwork, do you have this? Do you have that? Did you get your loan for this? If you didn't, email us. Where's the hang up? Yeah. All of that stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
It sucked, but yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm sure.
Horrible.
I'm glad to hear that you made it through and now you're seeing a nice quick growth. And I hope that continues.
Thank you.
What's something that you're afraid might actually be true about you?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, this is the dark question. It doesn't have to be dark.
No,
but
I really have no idea. I got nothing there. I don't know.
Okay.
I would say that I'm not as strong as I think I am. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so what do you, so Christina, let's take that one. And I ask this because there's a punchline at the end of this is like, what do you do to compensate for that thing that you believe might be true about you? What do you do to compensate for the thing that you might not think you're as strong? Yeah. I'm guessing you're like most high achievers. You work your ass off to prove to prove that you are good enough and strong enough. Yeah.
I would, and I'll answer that a little bit more honest.
Yeah.
This is a female male thing. Because our company is big, it's successful for us, it's big, it's successful.
Yeah.
It seems like the bigger we get and the more successful we get, even though I started this, I built it myself, I dragged my husband into it, who now works just as hard as I do. But as it gets bigger, as it gets crazier, and with all franchisees who are mostly male, all the credit goes to him. And that gets you really, really, really mad.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So my job is to overcome that and just keep working really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
But
I want to share with all of you a quick story about misogyny at its finest. We purchased a vehicle about a year ago, and our salesperson was great. It doesn't matter where we got it from.
I get you. Yeah.
Somewhere in New Jersey. So if you know anything about New Jersey, that could be about 10,000 car dealerships. There's a lot of car dealerships in New Jersey. And my wife is a badass businesswoman, holds her own. She's like you, right? Hard worker, good at what she does. I trust her with all things business, just like I would trust myself. We've picked out the car and we've got our 4-year-old at the time with us. And I was sitting down with a salesperson. I'm like, hey, we'd like it for this, we're doing a little negotiation.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got it, it's typical. Like, I gotta go talk to the manager, whatever. He comes back. He's like, okay, we can do this. I said, hey, I'm going to go watch my daughter. And I went out and I sent my wife in. And he said to her, he's like, oh, is Jason coming back? And she's like, no, you're going to be dealing with me now. You're going to be dealing with me. And and I also had another friend who was shopping for a vehicle. She's another brilliant business person. And this is in Ohio. The car salesman, it was a man, said to her, hey, is your husband helping you research vehicles? Because I think we really need him here in this process to make sure that you're really clear about all these things. That's and if you know my friend, who I will not call her by name, you do not want to say that to her. So and I say all this with 2021, this is it's just alive and well
Yeah,
in this day and age. There's
Yep.
so much sexism and misogyny that still goes on. And, I think next time, maybe encourage your next time somebody's like, hey, congratulations. You're like, I want you to talk to Christina over here. Or next time a vendor's you're negotiating with a vendor. You're like, okay, now we're going to get to brass tacks. This is my wife. I'm going to go and actually go have a drink. You're now in big trouble, mister.
Yeah.
So, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for being honest with us.
No
So
problem.
we start to wrap up, Christina. I want to ask you, how do you see the world? So this is kind of like, what's your worldview overall?
Oof.
Yeah. Nice, easy, direct question again, right?
I think we're in tough shape. There's a lot of, and there's good and bad to social media and information being at our fingertips today. So yes, it's great to be able to look something up. It's great to be able to talk to you like this. And we could never done that 20 something years ago.
Yeah.
The problem is that it's, for whatever reason, something happened where everything is so raw right now. And we don't have people that are sitting down at a table making decisions anymore. We only have extremists. It seems like there's one side or the other. And it takes up everybody's energy so that we can't sit down and solve any problems anymore. And there's a lot of problems that need to be solved. And there's a lot of there's a lot of things that aren't problems that we've made problems,
Yeah.
So that's a tough place to be.
Yeah. Thinking, like you've alluded to this. I don't know, you're located in Las Vegas. I mean, Nevada was kind of the epicenter of one of the epicenters of the presidential election in November, where it just was ugly.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's ugly. I mean, and as living in New York, like, how our state's going to vote, like that's a no brainer. There's no New Jersey, New York is always going to go a certain way. But watching on the news, some of the things that happened in like Arizona and Nevada, it's like, wow, that's just bad. And like some of the things that happened with I just say it, you're watching these poor public servants that are just they're just literally doing their job. These are people that probably make less than 100,000, the county election official, and they're just getting blasted. I'm like that. I'm like what? I'm like these. If I was, I'd be like, I don't get paid enough for this shit. Like, come on,
so bad,
so bad.
I think there's at one point in our the growth of our business, and I think you had touched on it early before we get on. We were sued by Monster Cable, and we were tiny then, and it was maybe 6 or 7 years old, and that was a big company. And it started because the founder of Monster Cable wanted to own the word. He wanted to trademark the word monster. So if you know anything about trademark law, which we learned a lot, I'll tell you that, is that you have to own your mark in a bunch of categories before you can really own the word. So he would just prey on these little mom and pops. And I think we were about case number 423. So that's 423 companies he had sued when he got to us. And I was like, there is no way you are taking Monster Mini Golf, which we actually are monsters and we are mini golf. So there was no reason you should be arguing with us and you want to own, our trademark. So what started as something small, 3 or 4 months into it, or in a year into it, we were hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and attorneys, and it was back and forth. And we were at the point where, holy cow, we can't pay this. We'll lose our company if we lose this.
Yeah. And
I kept saying to everybody, this is all being puppeteered by attorneys and corporate things and people, and I know that he's a little loony, but I always say that if you have a problem if you're fighting with somebody, just get the people in the room that are the source of those two things. So I say, and especially if you put founders in a room of any company and there's an issue they have to solve, and just get rid of everybody else, I don't care who you are, there's a respect for founder to founder.
Yeah.
It's easy to argue it through an attorney. It's easy to play,
of course it is.
The curtain, but you put us face to face and you're going to solve that problem. So after we were literally hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt, and it was crazy, it was insane. It made the news. It was all over the place.
That's so nuts.
This was around Christmas time. I don't even remember what year it was. And I was just at wit's end. I said, and this is before social media, really. We were on Reddit. That's really where we were. But before social media. So I just said, I'm going to take a last shot. My husband and I said, let's just not do Christmas. We couldn't even afford it. We flew down to Key West. Before we left, I put a letter in the mail. I found his wife, and I found his home address. And I wrote to his wife and I said, this is what's happening. And it's coming from your family. This is what's happening right now. I don't even know if you're aware of it, but you didn't start like this, because I read your history and I read how you started. This is not what you started. This wasn't your intention. I wrote a very straightforward, heartfelt letter. And then I put a couple of cool, I think, videotapes back then in there. I think I put a Christmas story, I don't know, Christmas Carol and The Grinch, right? Really stupid things. I said, stop and think about what you're doing and take some time this Christmas and maybe rethink what's happening. And on Christmas Eve, he called me. Noli called me and said, we need to stop this. And we ended up solving all of our problems.
Wow.
We ended
That's
up
an amazing
all
story,
of our legal
Christina.
fees. Yeah. And then we ended up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal as, kind of like the underdogs and blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't sue people for that anymore. And that was part of the deal, is you don't sue small mom and pops anymore for that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that what I hear in that story, it's a lesson for
version.
I'm going to go back and look for that's an incredible story. I'll actually put, if you share with me the link or tell me where it is, I'll share it in the show notes here. Cause I think that the thing that I'm taking from that is, there's a lesson for all of us. We get so wrapped up in the thing that we believe to be right, or the thing that we need to do for our business or for our personal life, that we actually forget who we are. I see this I see this for myself. I see this for my clients. I see that we forget who we are, and we're blinded by, well, we've done it to these other things. I mean, let's be clear. Nobody's going to say, hey, I'd like to go to Monster Mini Golf, but it reminds me too much of Monster cables for my HDMI cables. Like they're not even the two things.
It's not happening.
So the story of we need to stop doing this is a really good ending. I wasn't sure how it was going to end, or if it was like, and then we went to court and the judge ruled in our favor, but they stopped proceedings. Did they pay you back for the legal fees?
They did. They paid all of our legal fees. And part of our deal was, you do not do this anymore to anybody else.
Yeah. Unless they're selling audio and video cables, then please protect yourself. Yeah. Protect yourself. Like, you're in a business for a reason.
Both ways.
Just like if we see somebody who's like Monsters Mini Golf, we're probably going to tell them to cease and desist. But
exactly.
And I think that's a super cool story. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. So last thing before we wrap up, Christina, is for everybody who's here with us listening, how can they, like, what's the best way to find out if there's one of these locations nearby?
MonsterMiniGolf.com.
MonsterMiniGolf.com.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. All of our locations are there.
Yeah. And you mentioned United States and Canada.
Yes. Yep.
Also, and then also, are you looking for new franchisees if they fit?
Yes, we're always looking to grow.
You are willing to grow for the right type of person. Absolutely.
Cool. We actually have 4 on deck. So we're
nice.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. All right, Christina, thank you so much for being on today. I have one last thing for you, and it's not really a question. It's more of a request. Sure. I would love if you would leave us with some words of wisdom from you. It can be from you. It can be from your favorite philosopher, author. It doesn't really matter, but just keep it short and sweet. What do you have for us?
Stay humble, be strong, and listen.
Be humble, stay strong, and listen. Thanks so much, Christina. Best of luck to you, the rest of the team. If any of the franchisees end up listening to this, best of luck to you. I can't wait to see what's the closest one to us. We're out here in the Northeast. I'll bet you there's something not too far away. We're not far from Connecticut, so I can't wait to check it out. And just keep up the good work. And I hope your revenue and the results that you're getting out there continues to grow like it has been, and get this pandemic over with so we can get people back inside having fun again.
Thank you very much. Great.
Thanks,
being here.
Christina. Yep.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Talking to Cool People with Jason Frizzell. If you enjoyed today's episode, please tell your friends. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and give us a shout out, or take a moment to leave a review on iTunes. If something from today's episode piqued your interest and you'd like to connect, email us at podcast@jasonfrizzell.com. We love hearing from our listeners because you're cool people too.